This is episode 26 of the 99 Forever podcast. I'm Eric Friesen, and my guest tonight is making his third appearance on the podcast. He's one of my best friends and the biggest Oilers fan in Australia, Chester Taylor. Chester, welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks for having me again in your podcast, Eric. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you back on the show, bro. It's been 8 months since we last recorded an episode, and we couldn't have picked a better time to do one after the Oilers swept the Battle of Alberta this weekend.
Was that 8 months ago already?
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy to think. We talked just before the season got back, because it came back in the playoffs started in early August, and we talked I think late June. So it was about a month before the return to play began.
Yeah, well, it's good to be back again. Talk some Oilers hockey, especially I'm from Australia. It's the difference from the time zone is pretty crazy. So
yeah, but we always work it out, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. my time, and about 11:30 p.m. your time.
Yeah. So it's good. It's good to be back.
Yeah, but like I said off the top, it's a great time to do an episode with the Oilers beating the Flames 2 straight games this weekend, and I think that's where we should start tonight, man. So just give me your thoughts on the Oilers' 2-1 win at the Saddle Dome on Friday night.
Ooh, it feels good to win against Calgary. It's always, for Oiler fans, right? It's always great to get a win against Calgary, especially with their main rival.
Oh yeah.
It's just great. I think the first game we in Calgary, it's just that it's just a team effort. Everyone stepped up. I think Leon and Connor didn't had a point in this game, so it just shows the maturity of the team. I think it's not the only first game that they had no point that they won a game. I think they had a few days ago. I think Leon and Connor had no point, but they won the game as well. I'm not sure who they played that game, but yeah, as I said, it just shows the maturity. I think with their defense, Darnell Nurse really played great. He's stepping up with that game, and he has how many goals? I think he has a lot of goals this season right now. 6?
Yeah, I believe he has. I think he has the 6th most goals in the NHL by defenseman.
Yeah, he played great defense that game, and overall, all in all, our defense was great. Tyson Barrie, wow, what a great pickup for us. He didn't do great in Toronto, but he's like the old Tyson Barrie in Colorado, the way he's showing with the Oilers. So it's good. And he made that great pass to Jesse. I think.
Oh yeah.
The first goal that he went to that and looked for Jesse in the middle of the net. It was really good. And he's just moving the puck and shooting the puck really a lot. And Evan Bouchard as well. Love the way he have that slap shot. It's like really, you can really feel the puck going to the wall, and I can hear it from my TV. It's like, wow, that's a strong shot.
It's a weapon that the Oilers have needed for a long time. Both Barrie and Bouchard can really rip the puck from the point, and the fact that they're both right-hand shots, it's been a long time since the Oilers have even had one of those guys, and now they have two. And, despite Clefbaum being out this season, it's changed. It's changed the entire look of the power play, really.
Especially Barrie and Bouchard. That's what we really need. Like the past seasons, we didn't have that kind of defenseman. So it's just really great to see that, that addition to our team. And even our bottom six, Gates and Haas, he's really stepping it up as well. He played great that game. Scored a goal, gutsy goal, and it's a great bounce back win for Mike Smith. He's been solid this season, so he was sharp that game as well. So it's good to see.
Yeah, definitely. You just mentioned Haas a second ago. The way that he followed up that play and buried the rebound to put the Oilers up 2-0 late in the second period. That was a huge goal. Unfortunately, the Flames did score a couple minutes later to cut the lead to just 1, but they held on and won the game. And look, I'm someone who loves to see a lot of goals. And when you have superstars like McDavid and Draisaitl on your team, they're going to put up a ton of points. But you can't expect them to carry the offensive load every night. And that's just like you said, the depth is starting to step up more. And for the second time this month, the Oilers did win a game where both McDavid and Draisaitl didn't get a point. So I think it had been a stretch of 28 games over the past 3 years where the Oilers had lost every time where McDavid and Draisaitl didn't factor in on the score sheet. So as much fun as it is to win those 6-2 or 7-3 games, it's really encouraging as an Oilers fan to see that this team is learning how to win games in different ways. And Friday night's game was a boring 2-1 road win. But you know what? I'll take a boring 2-1
Yeah,
victory
even me.
over,
A win's a
yeah,
win, bro.
yeah, I'll take it over a thrilling 6-5 loss every time, like the one against the Jets last week. So it's getting those wins is exactly what we need right now, and especially against the Flames when
Calgary, that's right.
they're
Especially
they're
against
chasing
Calgary.
us for a playoff spot and we're trying to hold on to one. That was a game that they needed to have. It was the most important game of the year to go into their building and just limit them to very few offensive chances and come out with a tight 2-1 win. It reminds me of when Dave Tippett coached the Arizona Coyotes. They used to beat the Oilers all the time in those kind of tight checking, low scoring games.
Hmm.
So it's a lot more fun to be on the other side of those victories now, where Dave's leading Edmonton to the odd boring 2-1 win.
Yeah. I mean, he's done a heck of a job with the Oilers.
Oh yeah.
He's really changed this. The system and the team, and the players like him a lot. You could tell.
We
Even
should also give a shout out to Dave too. He recently coached his 1200th game in the NHL
yeah,
and
that's right.
recorded his 600th win. So congrats to Dave Tippett, a guy who's been in the league for almost 20 years as an NHL head coach. And, um, he signed for one more year in Edmonton anyway after this. And let's hope that he sticks around even longer if this team continues to win and push in the right direction. So, yeah, that was a great win. All right, let's move on to Saturday night's game. This one was a little more exciting, Chester. The Oilers absolutely stomped the Flames 7-1 on Hockey Night in Canada, and Chester, Connor McDavid just continues to dazzle the hockey world night after night. And Saturday night's game was easily his best performance of the season, in my opinion. McDavid scored a natural hat trick and had 5 points as the Oilers improved to 9-2-1 in their or 9-2-0, I should say, in their last 11 games. And this has been their best stretch of hockey since 2016-17 when they finished the season on a 14-3-1 run. Chester, how much fun was it to watch the Oilers beat their provincial rivals in back-to-back nights?
It's the best feeling in the world, I guess. Well, McDavid was, how could I say, he was not human in this game. He was in another level. Like, oh my gosh, it's just so fun to watch. He was flying all over the ice, shooting the puck, and yeah, it was just amazing hat trick. He had like,
It
he
seemed
was
like
like,
every time he touched the puck, he was creating magic.
yeah, like Markstrom. I don't know. I don't know if he played bad or it just Connor was just too good. I don't know, but it's just amazing to see. It was just another level. I'm just thankful we have Connor in our team.
Oh man, I couldn't agree more. I mean, look, it's like you said, Markstrom isn't going to have the best stats from that game, but really there was a few goals where there's not much he could do. It was one of those nights where Connor just took over the game and just dominated from start to finish. I mean, he stole the show on Saturday. That might have been one of his five most dominant games he's
For
played in the
sure.
NHL. And he barely even played in the third period because they had such a big lead. There'd been a few players injured already, and I think Dave Tippett was trying to protect his stars. I mean, they had a power play in the third period, and Dave didn't even
Yeah,
put
David
out
was in the unit.
the top unit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all three goals were nice, but we have to talk about the second goal. I mean, that was just ridiculous, where he stole the puck from Noah Hannafin,
Yeah, I saw
kicked
that.
kicked it up to himself to create a 2-on-1 rush,
He
and
was looking
then
to pass, right? I mean, his
he
eyes
was
was like,
looking to
look,
pass to Nuge the
yeah,
whole way. But then without even looking at the net once, he just fires it past Markstrom. And that play where, like I said, where he stole the puck, skated in and shot it was all about 5 seconds.
that was nice.
That's how quick it went from the center line on Hannafin's stick into the back of the net. It was just McDavid absolutely just took over, like I said, that game, and by I think he made it seem like he was passing to Nuge the whole way. And he even talked about it in the post-game press conference where he said there's been multiple 2-on-1 chances this season where it hasn't gone his way, where he's tried to feed it through the defenseman's stick, and it might have been just good to change it up a little bit and whip one on net, and look, it went in the back of the net for him. So it all worked out, and he completed the hat trick later in the period, and then we basically said he just kind of took the rest of the night off almost. The 5 points were all scored in about 28 minutes of game time. So
Yeah,
from
that's
there
right.
from there from there on out, I think he only played about 3 or 4 shifts the rest of the game. But uh, man, just an absolutely dominant performance by McDavid. And I think we also have to talk about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I mean, he
Yeah.
scored 2 goals and had an assist, and he looked dangerous all night. What did you think about Nuge's game?
Yeah, I mean, he had a great game that game. He kind of had a slow start this season, but he's picking it up right now. He
Yeah.
starting to score some goals, and yeah,
He's got
he's
such an
just
underrated shot, doesn't he?
yes, his wrist shot is really underrated for me as well. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just love Nuge. The way he's a two-way player. He can do it all for me. He's a great defender. He can shoot the puck, and he's very smart, high IQ in the game, and yeah, I just really hope that we sign him, for more years to come, because
Yeah,
he's really, really, really a big part of our team.
definitely. I mean, Draisaitl had 2 assists last night too,
Yep.
and in total, the Oilers had 10 different skaters with at least a point. So once again, the depth players are finding ways to chip in some points here. And I mean, look, when your team wins 7-1, the defenseman and the goalie usually don't get as much attention. But I think Darnell Nurse probably had his best game of the season. We just talked about how he played well in Calgary the night before, but in the second game, he had 2 assists and played 33 minutes, and it was the second straight game he'd played over 30 minutes. I mean, he is just playing huge amounts of minutes right now, stepping up for Clefbaum in a big way since he's been out, and just really proving that he is a top pairing defenseman in the NHL
He's
for
having
anyone
heck
who's
of a
doubted
season,
him.
Eric.
Oh, I mean, he's on pace for a career year, despite it only being a 56 game season. And like I said, he's just taken his game to a new level. Both his offensive and defensive games have reached new levels, and just uh, he's a stud on the back end for Edmonton right now. And also Mikko Koskinen deserves a lot of credit for stopping
That was what I was gonna say
43.
next. Yeah.
Yeah, he stopped 43 of the 44 shots he faced, and that's why I said like
Yeah.
he was definitely one of the stars of the game. And this was the third time this season where he's made over 40 saves, and
Yeah.
the Oilers have won all 3 of those games, so he definitely deserves some praise too. Uh,
Definitely.
as as does Mike Smith for the first game the Oilers played. If we go back to the game in Calgary, I mean, he didn't have as many shots. I think he stopped 20 out of 21, but are you surprised that he's off to the start he has? I mean, right now Mike Smith is 4-0. I know he should have been charged with a loss against Winnipeg last week where the Oilers fought back to tie the game, and then Koskinen, who came in to replace him, ended up taking the loss. But overall, 4 out of 5 really good performances for Mike Smith, and Koskinen looks a lot sharper ever since Mike Smith's been back too.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that I don't know. I think for me, Mike Smith and Koskinen. I mean, for me, I think they really gel together. I mean, it's two different person. They're two different. Their personalities are different.
Yeah,
Mike Smith brings that swagger to the team, that veteran leadership in that locker room. I
he's a
mean,
fiery guy.
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Connor's our captain, but I think Mike Smith's the like, that
For
swag
sure.
that he brings, like that everyone respects him. When he says something, everyone will really, you know what I mean, really listen to him, and he's a
Oh yeah.
veteran. Like he brings that toughness I mean, he cracks some jokes in the locker room. And Miko is like, I think the different of Mike Smith. I mean, he's pretty laid back.
Yeah. You can
Uh,
just tell from his interviews he's a pretty chill guy compared to Mike Smith, but they
yeah,
seem to balance each other out really well. And I mean,
yeah,
their styles are different. Mike Smith really likes to get out and play the puck. Sometimes he plays a little too deep in his net, I think. But look, he's a solid veteran NHL goaltender, and everyone was really down on him last year in the playoffs in the first game against the Blackhawks, but he's come back and really played well early on this year, and hopefully he can continue this level of play. I'm not saying he's going to have a 965 save percentage or whatever he's at right now, but it's really encouraging to see the level he's started the season at. And, for a guy that's about to turn 39 pretty soon, if he can continue to give the Oilers solid starts this winter and help them get into the playoffs, then you can't ask for much more than a guy you're paying about $1 million for.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, hey, when we signed him, a lot of Oiler fans were kind
People
of,
were down. I was a little
yeah.
disappointed too. I
Why?
have to admit.
Why did we
There
sign him
were
again? So,
there were so many goalies on the open market this year that I think everyone expected Ken Holland to try and upgrade the goaltending. But let's be honest, if they would have spent big money on a Jacob Markstrom, who we talked about, he was reportedly interested in coming to Edmonton, but it was the deal that he was looking for was like 7 million times 7 years. And if they would have committed to him for that long, they wouldn't have been able to bring in a guy like Tyson Barrie, who's been one of the Oilers' best players so far this season. I think Ken Holland allocated his money better in trying to bring in some more depth to the organization, trying to really address getting a right shot skilled D-man like Barrie to come in. They've got Bouchard now too, but Ken Holland's not the type of guy who likes to bet on a young guy like Bouchard to be ready to take over that spot. So now, like we said, now he's got two guys who can kind of fill that role. So I'm happy the way he organized his team this year, and yeah, it's worked out so far. The Oilers are sitting at 12-8-0 after a rough start. We've really turned it around, and yeah, that was just a huge win against the Flames on Saturday night. Anytime you can beat the Flames, it's big, but when you beat them 7-1, it just feels a little bit better.
for sure. And with the performance of McDavid. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's one
it's,
we're not gonna forget it. I mean, Connor has great games every night, bro, but you have to just say like that was just a special
yeah,
performance
another
on Saturday.
level.
And
I just said,
when he
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say when he does it on national television, that's even better. To coast across Canada, everyone gets to see how special a player that uh, us fans in Western Canada get to watch night after night.
That's right. I mean, I said a while ago, I'm just happy that he's an Oiler. I hope
Oh
he
yeah,
he can play the rest of his hockey career with the Oilers, but hopefully we'll
I
see.
believe you will too. And as
Yeah,
soon as they take this team to the next level and start contending for Stanley Cups, it's gonna make him want to stay even more. But I believe that he's a loyal guy who wants to be a part of the solution here and wants to win here, and that's hopefully what we're gonna see. But sticking with McDavid now, let's talk about his individual season overall. He currently leads the NHL scoring race with 37 points in 20 games this season, and he reached a major milestone last week when he recorded his 500th career point, and perhaps more impressively, he tied his childhood hero Sidney Crosby as the eighth fastest player in NHL history to reach 500 points, doing so in just 369 games. Chester, what can you say about McDavid scoring 500 points this early in his career?
amazing. I mean, when he had this, I think his rookie year, he got hurt, right?
Yeah, he unfortunately missed 37 games with a
So
broken
imagine
clavicle
if he
that year.
didn't, if he played those games, he might have reached,
Yeah, he might have done it a lot
yeah,
sooner. He missed
sooner, a
7
lot
games
sooner.
last year too with the quad injury.
Yeah.
But
Did Crosby had injury as well at the start? I
oh
think he
yeah,
did as well. Yeah,
uh, you know,
that's right.
basically in his early 20s, he missed quite a bit of time. I think there was about a 3-year period there where he only played about 80 games over those 3 seasons. So yeah, he definitely missed a lot of time too. Connor has been relatively healthy despite having two major injuries. The injury that happened at the Saddle Dome in 2019,
His knee.
um, where he tore up his knee. That was on the last game of the season. So if there's any silver lining there, it's that he had the entire off season to rehab it. Unfortunately, he didn't get to do a proper summer of training. So he came back to the Oilers at probably not 100%, but it was good enough where he could at least return to the lineup. And he still finished second in league scoring with 97 points last year in just 64 games. That was, of course, the year where Leon Draisaitl led the league in scoring with 110 points. But yeah, the fact that he's been able to hit 500 points this early in his career, it's really amazing.
Very amazing. I mean, yeah, as I said, he's gonna be one of the best to ever play the game, Eric. He'll be right there for sure with Wayne
Oh yeah.
Gretzky and those guys once he retires.
I mean, look, when he arrived in Edmonton in 2015, we all knew that the Oilers were getting a special player, but uh, I don't think we even maybe realized how good he was going to become.
Yeah,
And despite a mountain of expectations from day one in oil country, he's somehow managed to exceed all of them. I mean, he averaged more than a point per game as a rookie. And like we said, despite missing quite a bit of time. And then he wins the scoring title and MVP at age 20. The next year, he joined Gretzky as the only players in NHL history to win multiple scoring titles at age 21.
yeah,
He put up he put up three consecutive 100-point seasons, and he would have done it four straight times if not for the injury that limited him to just 64 games last season. And now at just 24 years old, he already has 500 points. So it's just incredible what he's been able to accomplish at such a long age. He's got way more accolades that I could even list in a few minutes on this podcast, but that just kind of summarizes how dominant of a scorer he's been since he came into the league. And I put out a tweet the other day
yeah.
that,
Which
sorry,
one?
go ahead.
What
Uh,
tweet?
where he has 506 points since he came into the
Oh yeah,
NHL,
yeah, I saw
and
that.
he's the only player who's hit 500 points over the last 6 years, and
But
just to think where he'd be if he even had all those games that he missed in his rookie year back.
yeah, but do you see that he'll be a top five player of all time?
You know what?
I
Right
think Elliot
now,
Friedman knows. Somebody asked Elliot Friedman about Sidney Crosby.
yeah.
Will he be
Um,
a top five player of all time on his list? And I think Elliot Friedman said probably yes.
he's
I think he said yes with that.
McDavid is undoubtedly going to be a top 10 player of all time. Here's the thing: the top four in my mind is Gretzky,
Lemieux.
Lemieux, Howe, and Orr.
Yeah,
After those top four, that's when the debate really starts. Like, do you put a guy like Rocket Richard in there? Do you put a guy like Jean Beliveau? Do you put Sidney Crosby? There's a lot of legends of the game who you could argue are the fifth best player ever.
for
Sidney
sure.
Crosby is right in that category, and he has to be considered possibly number five all time. For Connor McDavid, he's still so early in his career. This is just his sixth season. Of course, he's going to have to do a few more things, especially experiencing more team success. And I think
Winning a
with the
cup, of
move,
course.
yeah, like with the moves that Ken Holland has made recently, you can see that the Oilers are building towards becoming a better team and trying to become a consistent winner. But as of right now, he's only won the one playoff series so far in his career.
Yep.
So that's going to be the next big step, is for him to have more team success and hopefully eventually win a Stanley Cup in Edmonton. But
Yeah.
I think the way he's scoring, he will finish his career with more points than Sidney Crosby. He has the potential to be an 1,800 plus point scorer
That's
if
what I feel
he
too.
if he can maintain his health. We could be
Hmm.
talking about a guy who's right up there near Gordie Howe as one of the top scorers of all time, if not catching Yager potentially someday. It depends how long he plays and how long he's able to keep this level of scoring up. I really think that he'll hit 1,000 points before he turns 30 years old. So after that, it's just all about how much he's still able to contribute offensively throughout his 30s, when players typically drop off a little bit. But for elite guys like Connor McDavid, even if he's not the league leader in points every year at that point in his career, he should still be, right in the top five, top 10 guys who's putting up those big offensive totals every year and still maybe chipping in 80 to 90 points, even late in his career. So I really think that he has a chance to be a top 5 player of all time. But like we said, we're talking about 6 years into what's hopefully a 20-year NHL career. And I hope like when we look back at his career 15 years from now, we'll be talking about championship success as well as a bunch of individual success.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me he can crack the top 5. That's what I just feel, with Connor. Um, with respect to Sidney Crosby and the others, but I can really feel something special with Connor, and we will get our
Definitely.
cup. We will win with Connor for sure.
I believe so too. And I mean,
And I'm just excited for next season. I think we're gonna have some cap space as well, so we could
yeah,
sign some,
th-
some
there's a
quality
lot of money
players.
coming off the books. The Oilers will have to figure out how to spend that, and hopefully the salary cap, I should say, sorry, will continue to rise. I know it kind of stayed stagnant this year because of the pandemic, but if the league can start to recoup some money and build its money back up, let's hope that they can increase that salary cap. I mean, look, Seattle's coming into the league. There's going to be a new US TV deal, so the funds should be there for the league to continue to grow and raise that salary cap. If it gets to $100 million over the next 5 years, while Connor's still making 12.5 million, and that cap hit is going to look even better, and there will be lots of money to spend to put a championship caliber team around him. Let's even though we're only halfway through the season, or not even quite halfway through, we let's just talk about the Hart Trophy race right now. Do you see McDavid as the obvious favorite to win the Hart Trophy this year?
Yes, I think he's on a mission. Coming to the season, he was really feeling healthy. Not like last season, he kind of had like a step back with his injury with his knee. He wasn't able to prepare much during the off season. But this time, I mean, that first game he played, he was just flying already. He was like, he wants to win. He wants to win. He wants to win the cup. So he's on a mission. I think he's gonna win it for sure. And he has like 37 points right now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And who's next? Leon, 30. Leon to 30.
yeah,
Mitch
he's
Marner.
tied
Mitch
Mitch
Marner's
Marner
30,
with
and I
the
think
yeah.
Matthews has 29. I mean, he's separating already from the others. I mean, it's just amazing what he's doing.
Yeah, and look, the number of goals that Austin Matthews has scored early this season is ridiculous. He's scoring at a goal per game pace right now, and he definitely should be a finalist for the Hart Trophy. But McDavid is averaging an unbelievable 1.85 points per game right now, which puts him on pace for 151 points in a normal 82 game season. And only 5 players in the history of the game have ever scored 500 points in a single season. So that goes to show you that McDavid really is having a season for the ages. And in my opinion, he's the obvious front runner for the Hart Trophy right now. And if McDavid does take home the Hart, he would join just a list of Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky, and Alex Ovechkin as the only players in NHL history to win multiple Hart trophies at age 24 or younger. So we're talking about a very exclusive club here, and really he should have multiple Hart trophies already. He was robbed in 2018 when he led the league in scoring for the second straight year. Unfortunately, the Oilers didn't make the playoffs that year, and a lot of writers don't like to give the Hart Trophy to a guy who was on a non-playoff team. So that's what cost him the MVP that season. But really, he should have won it, and
Yeah.
we'd be talking about a third MVP trophy right now instead of a second one. But in my opinion, he's running away with it this year. And this is a guy who he really could score 100 plus points in just 56 games. That's how torrid of a pace he's on.
Yeah. I mean, he's just on another level this season. So I think he's the clear one for me. With respect to, I mean, Leon and the others, Mitch Marner, Austin
Leon's having an
Matthews.
amazing season too, and
Yeah.
he might miss out on getting nominated for the Hart again just because uh, he plays on the same team as McDavid. And look, last year we thought McDavid should have gotten nominated for the Hart, but the writers didn't necessarily want to vote for two guys on the same team. So Leon got the bulk of the votes because he led the league in scoring. I assume it's going to happen the other way this year, where McDavid will get the most of the votes for the Oilers, and Leon Draisaitl, even if he ends up finishing second or third in league scoring, might not get nominated for the Hart, unfortunately. But he's definitely one of the top players in the NHL as well. No lower than the fifth best player, but probably even you could argue that he might be the third best player in the league right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just Leon. I mean, he's quietly, because Connor's having all the attention right now with what Connor is doing right now. But if you see what Leon's doing with the second line, I mean, he's doing everything as well. I mean, he's generating that line, making chances for Cahoon and Yamamoto, and he's
Tyler
great.
Ennis recently, they
Yeah,
kind of they swapped Cahoon off, and I like the idea to start him there because they had chemistry from the time they were kids and started playing together, but also just the fact that they played together on the German national team so many times over the last decade. But
yeah. I think it's
Cahoon
just a
hasn't
short time
scored.
because yeah, I think it's just a
Yeah,
short because Cahoon had like I think a off game. I think
he
during
hasn't played. He hasn't. He's had some good moments, but he hasn't
yeah,
racked up as many points as we thought so far. So Tyler Ennis is a guy who has the skill to play a top six role in a pinch, even at 31. So his combination of soft hands and skating ability definitely, are assets that you can put with Leon. But yeah, it's I think they're going to give Cahoon another shot at some point. But yeah, this is probably the best the Oilers top six has looked in a long time. And let's actually talk about one of McDavid's line mates right now. This is a guy who you're a huge fan of, and so am I, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who's having a very solid season himself with 18 points in 20 games. I also tweeted the other day that Nugent-Hopkins has 29 goals and 76 points in his last 82 games going back to last season, which are excellent numbers, almost a point per game. And I know you've been a big fan of Nuge since the day he was drafted in 2011, and you've followed his entire career in Edmonton. So I'll just ask you, do you think that he will be a point per game player for the first time in his career this season? And how much do you think he'll make on his next contract?
um, yeah. Going back to what you said, that I was a big fan of Nuge. Well, I started watching hockey in 2011, and the first ever T-shirt player T-shirt that I got was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I think that was his rookie season. So
Yeah,
I really watched him from his rookie until where he is right now. And it's just, every year he gets better and better, and he's just so underrated. Like he doesn't get much attention as well, but all the things that he does in the ice is just really amazing. Like he can penalty kill, he can play with the top players. As I said, he can, you know, um, have I mean, he has a high IQ in the game that can, to play with McDavid, or he can play with
absolutely.
Draisaitl. So he had a lot of success with Draisaitl and Yamamoto, and he can really shoot the puck. He has an underrated wrist shot. I mean, he can, he can
He's
really
a
snipe that
very
puck.
talented player. And look, when Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is the third best forward on your team, you know that you have two really good players ahead of him, like McDavid or Draisaitl. So he's just an unbelievable talent. And um, yeah, just to have a guy like Nuge who can do so many things, like you said, such a smart player, such a skilled player. He's a huge asset to this team.
And that's why people say keep Nuge forever. I'm with
Keep
that
Nuge
for
River,
sure.
which the Oiler Nation guys have kind of started,
Yes,
and it's
sir.
I'll give a shout out to Bag Milk, who's someone who I like to interact with on Twitter over at Oilers Nation, and he's kind of really been beating that drum for a while now that the Oilers should make sure that Nugent Hopkins is an Oiler for life. And no one has ever gone start to finish with the Oilers organization before, and you'd like to think that Nugent Hopkins would be the first one to do it, to actually start his career here and end it. And I really believe he wants to be an Oiler for life. All the reports coming out of Edmonton say that he has told his agent to relay that message to Oilers management that he wants to stay in Edmonton. He wants to win here because let's be real, Chester. He went through a lot of tough years
Yeah,
in Edmonton.
from the
So
downs, ups
he
and downs, and he
after
was
going
there.
through yeah, after going through a big portion of the decade of darkness where he didn't have much team success for several years, to now be on a team with McDavid and Draisaitl leading the way, where this team is starting to really build something and finally trend in the right direction after so many hard years. I think he's put in a lot of time into this city and a lot of time into this team. He wants to see this through. Just like I talked about with McDavid. McDavid wants to be a part of the solution. Nugent-Hopkins also wants to be a part of the solution. He wants to be here to win. I really think he should be an Oiler for life. And when it comes to the contract, let's just move on to that now. Like, how many years would you sign him for, and what kind of money do you think he'll make?
Mm, I love Nuge, so I would love to keep him for you know for a lot of years. So I might give him 6 to 7 years, and then maybe around. He's earning 6 million right now, right?
Yeah,
Uh, just below 7 million, I guess, like 6.8.
I mean, I'd love that too. It might come to a point where
But he
we
might
have
ask for
to,
more. Yeah.
and I'm fine with that too, because here's the thing. uh, he's a hard player to replace. You can't
Yes.
just go out there and find a guy who can produce uh, close to 30 goals uh, in the 70 point range. Those guys aren't easy to find. And if you do find someone who can produce that money or that type of production, I should say, for that money, they're not going to have the same connection to the city that Nugent Hopkins has. He knows the team. You know what you're going to get from him, and I would be really loath to let him go on free agency or trade him at the deadline because
Yeah.
they he's going to be a very tough player to replace. This is a
Yeah.
guy
As you
they have
said,
to
like,
hold on to. And
it's
I
very
know,
hard to find that kind of player, Eric. I mean,
right. And he's
uh,
going to be 28 right away.
yeah, but
And
yeah.
that I would still sign him for 8 years. And some people, might say, well, he'll be 35 in the last year of that contract. And that's more money than you might be wanting to pay a 35-year-old if, let's say, he's getting 7+ million. But I think that he's
But he
smart
deserves it,
enough.
Eric. He deserves it.
He
Come
does,
on.
but his smarts and his skill and his
Yeah.
skating ability is good enough that I don't think he's going to just drop off the map as a player. His point totals might go down, but I just believe that his combination of skills will still make him a useful player into his mid 30s. And the type of game you're going to get from him over the next, let's say, 5 or 6 years before that, will be worth it if his game drops off a little bit in his mid 30s. The hope is that you've already won a Stanley Cup or are close to winning a Stanley Cup in that window anyway. So that's why I would say if you can hold on to him, they have to do everything they can to sign this guy. And I was really hoping that the deal would get done before the season even started, so that we wouldn't have to hear any contract talk throughout the season. But I think, like I said, he's probably going to want 8 years. They might settle somewhere around seven or something, and I could see a situation where it's 7 million times 7 years.
Yeah. I mean, well, Ken Holland said that, during the off season, that was his priority to get
Yeah,
Nuge back, to sign Nuge. But I think, they're negotiating, and yeah, I just hope it will be done soon. And yeah, we'll see Nuge for more years with the Oilers.
let's hope,
I
man.
mean, I don't see any player that you can replace. I mean, it's just hard. Like, he's been with the team, he knows the team well, he knows everyone there. I mean, he has great chemistry with McDavid. He can play with Draisaitl. What can you ask for more? You know what I mean?
Definitely. And let's talk about another guy who plays on the top line with McDavid and Nugent Hopkins now, Jesse Puljujarvi. After spending a year away from the NHL in the Finnish league, he's back with the Oilers and having a much larger impact than he did during his first 3 seasons in Oil Country. He's playing on the top line, like I said, with McDavid and Draisaitl, and he recently had 5 goals in a span of 7 games. So after a bit of a slow start where he was getting a lot of chances, but the puck just wasn't going in for him, he's finally starting to have that offensive success, and his confidence just seems to be back to where it was when we watched him dominate at the 2016 World Juniors. So just how impressed have you been with Puljujarvi early this season?
Yeah, I'm very impressed. He's definitely put on the work back in Finland. He really wanted, well, he's a good kid. He ever since he came to the NHL, he really wanted to prove himself. He really wanted to play in the NHL. He knew to himself that what he can do. And yeah, I mean, he went back to Finland. He worked on his game, and you could tell with the way he's showing right now. That's why he's playing with Connor right now in Nuge. I mean, he's playing with the
He really
first line.
looks like a former fourth overall pick the way he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to show. I mean, as Bob Stopper said, he's starting to pop, I guess. So, but yeah, I mean, I always liked Puljujärvi. Watching him in the World Juniors, he was unbelievable there. He won the MVP there at that time.
As a
Um,
17-year-old
that's
too,
why,
which is even more
yeah.
impressive in his
I
home country of
remember
Finland.
I think I was in Bali in Indonesia when the draft happened, and the Oilers when we drafted Puljujärvi. I was just so excited. You know
And
that I
everyone
was
was
messaging.
shocked because Puljujarvi was expected to go third overall.
Yeah,
He was the consensus number 3 behind Matthews and Line, and then when the Blue Jackets stepped up and picked Pierre-Luc Dubois, that kind of shocked everyone. And from there, the draft had just kind of changed course because the Oilers had now had Puljujarvi fall into their laps, and they obviously took him. And
Peter
um,
Chiarelli was
th-
just so excited.
yeah,
I think when Columbus made that pick, he was just so excited. I think he really his eyes was on Puljujärvi,
and I
and
mean, let's face it, they didn't handle his development very well the first few years. He was he bounced back and forth between the NHL and the AHL all 3 years that he was here. He never really had a solid set of line mates, and it just felt like he
it was
he
draining for him, Eric.
it
I think,
was.
yeah. I mean, like,
He just couldn't get a spot in the lineup where he could produce, and he was attached at the hip to Milan Lucic, who wasn't able to do anything for him at that stage of his career, and it was a real tough situation for him early on. He probably shouldn't have even come to North America as an 18-year-old. He should have been back in Finland for that year. So that was probably the first big mistake by the organization. But the
well,
fact that
he
now
was an
he's
MVP in junior, so
right, but now he's
maybe they were thinking,
22, and
yeah,
we're at almost 23, and we're finally starting to see the type of player we always thought we were going to get out of him.
yeah,
So
but
it's
kudos to
it,
him, Eric.
yeah,
He
he's turned
stuck
it
to
around.
it. Yeah, I mean, he figured out the life in Canada as well. I mean, his language has improved as well, I guess. He was,
You can
maybe,
really see that in the interviews that his
yeah,
English has improved, and that had to happen because you and I talked about this a while ago that I wonder how many close connections he was able to form the first time around when he didn't speak the language so well and he was new to the team. I think now that he's able to connect with the guys more, he can start to build those relationships and really, feel like one of the guys in the locker room. And um, look, it looks like Connor's really been enjoying playing with him, and to have a 6'4" power forward who can snipe the puck and make strong passes. I mean, that's the type of guy that you'd love to have playing with McDavid, and he's. I mean, you look what McDavid was able to do with Patrick Maroon years ago. Well, Jesse's a faster, even taller, not stronger, but taller version of Maroon, and he's been excellent so far this season in a short sample size. But no, I've really liked what I've seen from him, and let's hope that he can just continue to build from here and maybe even score 15 goals this year. I don't know,
yeah,
somewhere.
for sure.
I
But can
predicted
you see him
12 for him.
replacing Chase on the power play?
Yeah, you know what?
So he
Like,
get
look,
some more points, so
I mean, look,
score some
Alex Chiasson
goals.
scored on the power play last game.
Yeah, it's good to see that
And
as well.
he's a useful net front presence guy,
Yep.
but I think having Jesse out there just as another right shot option would really be a good move for this team to have someone who has some better puck skills than Chiasson does and can do more things in the corners with the puck. Like he's got such a long reach. He's able to extend plays and keep possession in the offensive zone, and that can be useful on the power play as well. So I'd like to see him get some more time uh, as the games go on this season to get that chance. But like I said, right now, as long as Chiasson's scoring, I don't think he's gonna be taken out of that spot. But you can definitely tell that this is a guy who is trending towards being on the power play unit. Same with Yamamoto too.
Yeah.
Look, there's not room for everybody,
It's
but
just a
he's a
matter of time, I guess, for those
yeah,
two.
he's a smaller skilled guy, but I wouldn't mind seeing him with a little more power play time too.
Yeah, that's right. I think Yamamoto's playing penalty kill now, right? I think
He's a
he's
good penalty killer.
yeah.
And look, we've seen Yamamoto on the power play a few times. Mostly late last season is when he was getting his chances, but in his few opportunities so far this year, he's been good too. It's just a matter of, like we said, figuring out what the unit's going to be. It always seems to be like the big three up front: McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins. Clefbaum was the guy on the back end who was running the power play. Now it's Tyson Barrie. You wonder how long until it's going to be Evan Bouchard. They're very similar players, and then of course, like we said, you've got to figure out who the net front presence guy is going to be, and that is where Jesse Puljujarvi could fit in eventually. But there's going to be a lot of competition for those spots, and that's a good thing. You want to have that internal competition where there are multiple guys who could fill that role. I mean, look at James Neal. James Neal often plays that spot as well, and when he's on, he can be a very useful player, banging in rebounds and screening the goalie as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like the old Ryan Smith job.
Yeah. Well, going back with going back to Jesse, you saw that goal you scored, the bar down one. I
Yes,
think that was the
against the Jets. That's
Jets.
that was
That was a great
that was
goal,
actually
Jesse.
Connor's 500th point.
Yeah,
Connor picked up the puck at center ice and just made a
that's
nice
right.
little
That's right.
little area pass that Jesse was able to skate into, and he just picked up that puck and just went bar down to get Connor's 500th point, and Leon raced over to pick up that puck for Connor, which was great to see too. And yeah, it's awesome to see how he's progressed as a player. Because you and I talked about it on the last episode we did, like I said, last June, where we talked about if Jesse does come back to the NHL, because there were rumors at that time. And
Yeah.
we didn't, and we were just say we said he might not turn out to be as talented of a player as we thought he might, but he still should be able to be a decent, third line player even. And that's another thing that I've been really encouraged about from Puljujarvi is that he didn't complain about starting the season on the third line. He was willing to come in and play whatever role the coaches asked of him. So that shows some maturity right there. And eventually, when he got his chance, he took advantage of it. And Cassian was struggling a little bit on the top line. Jesse came in and filled in admirably, and it just took a few games for him to find the back of the net, and once he did, like we said, started to score pretty consistently. So let's hope he can just keep that up. And like I said, there's still 36 games to play. He's got 5 goals in 18 games so far. I think he could definitely push for 15 this season.
Yeah, for sure. Hats off to Dave Tippett and Ken Holland. They really worked with Puljujarvi during the off season by communicating with him and they're expressing their feelings that that we really want you back with to
Yeah,
play with the
it's a fresh
Oilers.
start because
Yeah.
the
So
issues that Jesse had were with the previous regime, right? It was with Todd McClellan and Peter Chiarelli. I think it's good that both sides were able to just come in with a clean slate and say let's just start over and try to work something out. Plus the deal he's on, 1.1 million this year and next year. I mean, that's a
two
value
years,
contract.
yeah, for sure. I think he's just gonna get better and better, especially playing with Connor. And he's a talented player. I mean, he's only 22. He's just gonna get better and better. And he's gonna get more confident. Coach like him, manager likes him. his language will improve more. He's communicating with the guys. I mean, with Connor and the rest. It's just gonna get better. I mean, I was hearing Nuge, Leon. They were saying about Puljujarvi. I mean, sky's the limit for that guy, that kid.
Oh, definitely. Let's talk a little bit about the defense now too. We touched on a bunch of guys, but just overall, how have you liked the Oilers' defense top to bottom so far this season?
You know what? If there's one thing that I could really, I mean, with respect, I mean, sorry, with so of course Connor and Leon and the guys Nuge, our defense has really been good. I mean, Tyson Barrie, he's amazing. Evan Bouchard, Darnell Nurse having a heck of a season. And don't get me wrong, William Legason, I didn't see that coming. He's been playing great hockey for us.
Yeah,
He's
it's a
been paired
shame
with
that he had a
Larson.
wrist injury
Yeah, upper
because
body. Oh, it was a wrist. Okay.
he's very similar to Larson. I mean, uh, he's played, I think, 8 games this year before he got hurt, and in those 7 or 8 games he played, he only allowed one even strength goal against when he was on the ice. So,
Yeah, that's right.
playing some very, very good defensive minutes on a contract that's, I think he was making something like 800,000 this year. So,
Yeah.
giving the
They're,
Oilers great
they're
value
giving the
there.
opportunity to him. So, I mean, he's grabbing it. I mean, he's playing great.
But there were a lot of concerns when it was announced that Clefbaum was going to miss the entire season with a shoulder injury. But when you look at what the rest of the defensive core has been able to do, like we said, Darnell Nurse, 16 points in 20 games, um, playing 30 minutes a night a few times. Like we said, this weekend, he played 30 minutes both times. He's also plus 13 this season, which is just, it shows you how much he's picked up his defensive play as well. I always think he's had solid shutdown ability. It's just that there were time to time where he didn't pick up his man in the slot, and it would lead to backdoor goals against it. It seems like he's really sharpened that part of his game. However, he has such speed, and his skating ability is such an asset that with his size and reach and skating, he's able to really limit guys to the outside and can kind of close the gap quickly on wingers who are trying to rush down the wing towards the net. And the fact that he's just a physical presence in the blue paint every game, and clearing the crease for his goalies, it's just, he's a huge asset back there, and I know the goaltenders love him. Same with Tyson Barrie. He's also got 16 points, and he's obviously, like we said, quarterbacking the power play right now. Just what a difference he's made early on this season. Like you said, he had a bit of a slow start, but he's really picked it up now. It seems like he's getting a point or two every game the last month, and just finding a way to contribute offense, moves the puck so well. He can hit McDavid with a pass in stride, and just it leads to odd man rushes the other way all the time. So yeah, I've been a big fan of Tyson Barrie as well.
Yeah, same as me. I mean, I remember that when he was in Colorado, he always like Tyson Barrie to come to the Oilers.
We
Now here,
talked about it. We said he would be the perfect guy for them to get.
yeah, here he is. Well, especially, I mean, of course,
Just took a few extra years to arrive.
yeah, well, when he came into I mean, to the Oilers, I was like pretty, because he had a rough time in Toronto. So I was just praying that he can turn it around, and yeah, he's doing it so far. I mean, hopefully he'll continue to I mean, he's played to play best some great hockey, and hopefully can
Uh,
sign him for another couple of years.
Definitely. And look, you look at a guy like Ethan Bear, who was arguably the Oilers' best defenseman last season.
Yeah,
Like he suffered I think it's most likely a concussion. He took a slap shot to the head while he was
yeah,
sitting
that's
on the
right.
bench, and tomorrow night it'll be 3 weeks since he last played. So he's been out longer than expected. I think he's had some setbacks with headaches and things like that. But that's a guy that the Oilers really need to get back in the lineup because of how he's able to move the puck and his ability to one time it from the point. Just his overall, he's picked up his defensive game as well. And yeah, he's been a loss. But the fact that Evan Bouchard has come in and played so well, that right side is deep right now with Barrie, Bouchard, those two guys who are creating offense. Adam Larson, I mean, look, he's not a flashy player. He's not gonna make an incredible pass every game to send someone in on a breakaway or score a highlight reel goal, but he's quietly chipping, and he's got 2 goals already this year, which is usually about his yearly total, and he's already done it in 20 games. But there's nights this year where Larson looks just okay, or maybe he has a rough night, but then he always seems to bounce back with a solid effort the next game. So I think that he's such an important guy back there because he just is able to outmuscle players for the puck, win puck battles along the boards, chip it out, kill penalties. You can't just have all offensive minded guys on the right side. You need to have someone who can kind of get in there and muck it up and play tough. And he's the kind of guy that can do that for the Oilers, and he's just such a physical guy in front of it, learning from Scott Stevens back when he was in New Jersey, and he's just carried that with him his whole career. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Oilers do with him because he's a free agent this summer too.
Yeah.
But if the plan is to have Bouchard and Barry as two of your right shot guys, or I should say Bouchard and Bear, and then you decide to bring Barry back, well, where does Larson fit in? Someone's going to have to either shift to the left side or they're going to have to let them go completely.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question as well. And when Ethan Bear, is he practicing with the team already?
I heard he
Yeah,
was skating.
sk-
I don't think he's back to like full
where will you
contact
slot him
drills or
in?
anything like
Because
that.
I think Barry and Nurse are doing a heck. I mean, they're doing a heck of a job playing
Yeah,
together.
well,
So
they had Bouchard playing the left side the other game. They showed Jim Playfair, the Oilers assistant coach, working with Bouchard in practice, retrieving pucks on his backhand, and just I think he's a good enough player that he can do it. I heard that he had played the left side in junior with the London Knights, so it's not his first time that he would be doing this. So I think he can fill in that role and play the left side if he has to. Ideally, you'd like to have Bouchard on the right side because I just think that when you have a talent like him, a top 10 pick in the draft, you want to utilize his skills to the best that you can. And I would love to have him playing his natural side. However, when they do have this group of right shot guys, it seemed like for a while the Oilers couldn't find a right shot guy, and now they have so many. It's someone's going to have to move over. I mean, Chris Russell has filled in on the right side in the past when they didn't have enough right guys, and now it's kind of the reverse where they're having to put some right shot guys playing the left side. Caleb Jones is another guy I'd like to get your thought on. He's been a healthy scratch 8 straight games now after kind of a bit of a rough start defensively where he let in or he was the maybe one of the culprits for some poor defensive reads in his zone that led to goals early in the season. But it looks like with the injury to Slater Cuckoo now that Caleb Jones is going to get back in the lineup this week against Vancouver. How have you liked the player overall? Do you think it's just some growing pains for a young guy, and we'll see him start to turn his game around when he gets back in there?
I think so. I think he just had a rough start, but
Yeah,
because I think he what you call this I mean, I really I have faith with Caleb Jones. I mean, the growth that he showed last season was really really good for him, and he really took a step forward there. And coming
definitely.
to this season, he had a rough start, but as I said, it happens to any young player. He's still young, and I think he'll find a way to bounce back and yeah, to be a solid defenseman for the Oilers again. And hopefully, you might be playing with Evan Bouchard, right? Is that
Yeah,
Evan?
I could
Yeah.
see those two playing together. I mean, they both started the year in Bakersfield last year. Uh,
So you have Barry, Nurse Barry, and you have
you
Larson
could
and
you could have Larson and Jones if you decided to, and then on the bottom pairing, um, that's see
Bouchard.
this
Yeah,
is where they're going to have to find out. I think it's
it's
probably
gonna
going to
be
be
interesting.
Chris Russell and Bouchard right
Yeah,
now because I like the idea of having a veteran defensive minded defenseman like Russell playing with Bouchard, because it gives Evan a little more room where he can take some offensive chances,
Yeah.
skate the puck up ice, and Russell can cover for him defensively. So you want to have a veteran playing with a young player like that. And yeah, I think that the same thing for Jones. He should be paired with a veteran as well. And um, Larson could be that guy. So I think Dave has structured his defensive pairings that way, where he never has two young guys together for very long. It seems like he likes to make sure that they're
Just
just
one
kind of,
veteran
yeah,
defenseman. Yeah.
that they're mentored by a veteran. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see
But Jones,
Bouchard on the power play one time. I mean,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I can't
I
wait
mean,
to
so
see
do
him.
I.
Yeah, I
It,
can't
it,
wait.
it's so hard to take Tyson Berry off right now though
Yeah,
because
that's
he's
right.
producing so much.
Yeah.
I believe that Bouchard is going to get his opportunity. It's just a matter of do they sign Barry or not? Because the way that I see it, Barry does a lot of the same things that Bouchard does.
Hmm.
So if you sign Barry for 3 or 4 years, are you going to regret that a year in when Bouchard takes over as the power play specialist? And now you're going to take the skill that Barry was most used for, and he's not playing that role anymore, but you're still paying him for a player who does that kind of stuff. So I wonder if it might just be a one and done year in Edmonton where he comes in, reestablishes some value,
Yeah,
and
he just wanted to prove
he hits
himself.
the open
So,
market. Yeah, he could hit the open market and sign a 6-year deal somewhere else. But I mean, look, even if this is his only year in Edmonton, I'm glad to have him. He's been such a pleasant addition to the power play. I think that he has a little more of a shooter's mentality than Clefbaum had when Clefbaum was running the point. And Clef, I mean, look, we can't take anything away from him. The Oilers' power play was clicking at almost 30% last year, and Clefbaum was a part of that. And even despite his nagging shoulder injury, he still managed to get. I want to say he had over 30 points last year. I think he and Nurse both were in the 33, 34 point range despite the shortened season because of COVID. But, um, he fought through it and came back into the bubble for the playoffs and didn't feel quite right. And so it's no surprise he's taken the whole season off, but just the impact that Barry's had has just been huge for this team.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, sad to see Clefbaum, take a whole season out.
Uh,
But with the addition of Tyson Berry, I mean, really, this is a proof. This year, it's a proof. Prove doubters that he can still play. I mean, trying
and he
to.
was good in Toronto last year too. I think that the narrative is that he had a bad year just because he got off to a bad start with the Leafs. But honestly, he still finished with 39 points. And the Oilers have only had one defenseman with more than 39 points in the last decade, and that was Darnell Nurse. So to say that that's a bad season, well, the Oilers could sure use a defenseman who can give them that type of production. And I really think that if this was a full 82 game schedule, Barry would have hit 50 points this year. And he would have been the first defenseman since Sheldon Surrey in 2008, 2009 to get 50 points. So it's been over a decade since the Oilers have had that type of an offensive
Mhm.
presence on the back end. Chester, just to finish up here, I want to talk to you about the Oilers' new reverse retro jerseys. They're going to be wearing them again twice this week against the Vancouver Canucks. We saw them once a couple weeks ago when they played the Maple Leafs at Rogers Place. How have you liked the reverse retros, and do you think that the Oilers should wear them more? Because they've said, Tom Gazzola put it out on Twitter where he said the Oilers are lobbying to start wearing that jersey more. And apparently they're only scheduled to wear it these next two games against the Canucks this season. But the response from the fans seems to be that they really love them and they want the Oilers to wear them on a more regular basis. So would you like to see the reverse retros worn more?
For sure, love those jerseys. I hope to get one soon. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the first time I saw. The first time I saw it was on Twitter. I was like, wow. I fell in love with that jersey, and yeah,
I
it's
think they're
just
gorgeous too.
yeah, it's
It
really really
it's
good.
it looks like a 70s jersey similar to what the Oilers wore back in the
Mhm.
WHA when they had the orange shoulders with the blue trim around it. It's just and I love that they've kept the iconic Oilers logo unchanged. I mean, that it's just it's a
Are you getting
gorgeous
one?
uniform. Oh, I'm getting one. I will be getting a Connor McDavid jersey. You know, I wanted to get it when I go to Edmonton. That's where I get most of my Oiler jerseys, and then I bring it back to Saskatoon. But haven't been able to make an Edmonton trip here recently. So yeah, the last time I actually went was almost 1 year ago now, when I was there for the game in late March when we actually held the Oilers Live Cup charity game. And yeah, I'm anxious to get back, and hopefully we'll be able to have fans in the seats by
Yeah,
May.
hopefully
That
we can
might
get a
be wishful
vaccine.
thinking,
Everyone
but
gets the
yeah,
vaccine and see some
yeah,
fans inside the arena.
that's what I want to see. If we could get fans in the building by playoffs this spring, that would be awesome. So if I'm able to get out to Edmonton and go to a playoff game, I will definitely be picking up a reverse retro jersey while I'm there. And I think you're probably going to get a Draisaitl, I would guess.
Yeah, I could say that, or McDavid, one of the two. Can't
But
go wrong
no,
with those two.
you
So
can't go wrong with either. It's a beautiful uniform though, and man, I just want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. I know we got the big time difference, but we finally made it work, and it's great to talk hockey with you again. And let's make sure we do this again. Maybe either later this season or in the playoffs when the Oilers make it.
it's a pleasure, Eric. Really enjoy this. You know, I really enjoy your podcast. So to be here again, yeah, it's just
Thank you, brother.
it's a pleasure.
And you know what? I should quickly ask before we go. Let's get a prediction from you. We're 20 games into the season, 36 games to go. Where will the Oilers finish in the standings this year?
Ooh, um, I could see them. I could see them finishing number two.
That's where I have them right now as well. And
Yeah,
I mean, look, the Winnipeg Jets are a very good team. The Montreal Canadiens had a
yep,
great start. They've slowed down a little bit, but I think the Oilers are good enough that they could finish second in the division. So I'm hopeful that's where they're going to be. And it would be exciting to see them play the Jets and kind of reignite that rivalry from the 80s between these two cities. And maybe we'll get a little bit of that WHA classic rivalry back that
yeah,
started in the late 70s. And yeah, it'd just be awesome to see a Western Canadian playoff series again.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm just happy that we're starting to figure it out again. Like we had a slow start, but we're really really playing good right now. So yeah,
Absolutely.
my prediction is they'll finish hopefully number two, and we'll make the playoffs for sure.
And everyone go give Chester a follow on Twitter as well. What's your handle again, Chester?
Yeah, so it's underscore Chester Taylor.
So everyone go, please go follow Chester. Awesome guy, diehard Oilers fan, and uh, I always say, the biggest Oilers fan in Australia. You never miss a game despite the time difference, and that's awesome. Let's do this again soon, my friend. Have a good night.
You too as well. Go Oilers.
So for Chester Taylor, I'm Eric Friesen. This has been the 99 Forever podcast. We're out.